guys for coming to the CBOC meeting for school year 2021-22, and we are live. So Chip, I'm turning it over to you.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, welcome back, everybody. I hope you had a great summer and a healthy summer. And we're still kind of in COVID mode, so we're on Zoom this time. Maybe next time we can meet live and in person at one of the locations. But glad to see everyone here. And it's kind of hard to get back in the swing. I know we've been out of CBOC mode for a few months, but we're back. So let's call the meeting to order and start off with our Pledge of Allegiance. And hopefully maybe a few more people come in while we're doing the upfront stuff. So
Hey Chip, before we
Yes.
get started,
Yeah.
since Brian Kilburn is not taking minutes, how are we going to get the minutes done?
I'll take the minutes.
You will, Kathy?
I will
Great.
take the minutes, yes.
Thank you very much. Great.
If we are recording, somebody can take the minutes later on.
Either way. Okay.
Are we
well,
recording? I mean, I don't see, Kelly, I know you said we are live. It doesn't say anything on the screen that we are live.
Luis just gave me oh, I'm sorry.
We're not using Zoom to record. We're using the Fremont Unified School District system. to
Right,
record.
right.
Okay.
So that's why you don't see it on your Zoom screen.
Yeah, and Luis just confirmed we are live right now.
Okay.
Okay, Kathy, thank you for recording the minutes.
Yeah, and I'll get them out hopefully by next Monday, but on Tuesday, I'm leaving for 3 weeks in England. So,
wow.
well, family stuff, but you'll get them, but I won't be back until
Okay.
after Halloween. So
Okay, all right.
Any reason to be in England would be nice.
this is true, but it is an unusual time to be traveling. And let me tell you, what you have to do in order to accomplish travel is challenging.
Okay, let's keep moving forward.
Okay.
All right, let's start off with our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Religion to
of
the
the
flag
United States
of
of
the United States of
America,
America and to
to the
the
republic
republic
for
for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation under God,
under God,
indivisible.
with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, great. Now we'll go with the roll call. Chip Kohler, I'm here. Brian Gephardt,
Present.
Carla Cox,
Present.
Ashok Desai,
Here.
Jeff Bowen, Kathy Lang,
Here.
Siv Mahante. Siv, you're on mute. Okay, we see his hand. Susan Ho. Susan is absent. Paul Whitman.
Found it.
Good. Benita Verma.
Here.
Clarissa Dominguez.
Present. Present.
Thank you. Kelly McMahon.
Here,
Eric Chu.
Here.
Lisa McLean.
Here,
Sharon Coco, not here. Luis Zamora is maybe not here anymore, but he was here and he's got us recording. And how about Judith Wallace?
Judith is not present.
she's not here.
Okay, and do we have any other visitors or anyone else? I don't see anyone.
Doesn't look like it.
All right, well, welcome everybody. I don't think we need any special introductions because everyone has been here before. Is that true?
Yeah, yeah. Once.
Okay. Well, let's start off with the approval of the minutes from our very last meeting, which was all the way back in May 26th. And they were emailed out with the agenda. I can put them on the screen if anybody, if I need to share it. But if there's any comments, corrections, additions, whatever, please let me know.
Move we accept the minutes as read.
Okay. Anyone else second or any other second?
I'll second. This is Carla.
Okay. No other comments? No, nothing else to be modified? If not, all in favor of the approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, they're approved. Okay, any oral written communications from the last time we met, a long time ago? Kelly, anything that you know about?
The only thing that we received was a email from a resident requesting when the next attendance area Measure E update would be.
Okay.
And we responded that we will notify them the dates have been released by the superintendent's office.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, when is the next one?
Well, I gave them some dates and I'm waiting to hear back from CJ's office as to when. We looked
Okay.
at the last week of October or either the second week of November.
Okay, so they haven't been set then.
Yeah, so those were the ranges that we gave because they said they did not want to have anything in the month of December because of all the stuff that, you know, goes on during the holidays and all the
Right.
things that he's got to do. So I'm just waiting to hear back. And as soon as I do, you guys, of course, will know as well.
Okay, that sounds good. All right, anybody from the CBOC, have you had any contact that you need to make known? Anybody has anything, make it known. If not, I will just assume there's nothing.
This is Carla. So
Hi, Carla.
Kelly, I did have a parent ask about the middle schools and why there are no lockers at any of the middle schools. Specifically, you know, Walters was the first middle school that was converted from junior high to middle school, but just I don't know if, and I think the parent was potentially going to bring it up to the school board, but I don't know if that parent did. So I don't know if you have an answer for that, why there are no
I have
lockers.
not gotten that question, but I will research the answer because unfortunately Walters was completed prior to my arrival here. So I don't really know why they did not accommodate the lockers. But I do know that the current middle schools under construction, there are areas that have been identified for students to have their either hang up their bags or there's little cubbies for them to actually put them in. So, but I'll find out and get back to you.
So I'm just curious, just so are the schools not having lockers now as a general rule, or?
Well, I don't know that it's necessarily a rule. There is no like mandated requirement that says that students have to have lockers for their belongings. The only place that it's required is in the PE locker room so that they can have a place to, you know, store their valuables and clothes and things like that, and it can be
Right.
locked. But there is no mandate per se that there has to be lockers, but there does have to be a designated space available for them to, you know, place their belongings. And the verbiage is very loose. So, and I think it's a district standard kind of thing that they either agree upon or they don't agree upon. But like I said, I have to look into it because I'm not familiar with what Fremont's policy is
Okay.
with regard to this.
All right, that's interesting.
I thought Vanita had her hand up to answer
Oh,
this.
I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Because that similar thing was brought up to me too about lockers. I hear there is a petition going on from one of the schools, either it is Hopkins or Horner, to have lockers. The petition was, if I remember correctly, it was something about that the backpacks are too heavy for the kids to carry, and they need to have lockers. And when I was at Central, I did ask that same question, and I was told by either the principal or the architects that there is no plan for lockers at all.
Wow.
I was told that the lockers are only for PE and there will be no lockers for the students. And I have to agree, the backpacks really get very heavy, especially with the history books, and the history books are the heaviest ones, and they have to carry it back and forth sometimes. And so there were issues when 4 years back, 3 years back too, that the junior high kids did not have lockers and they had to carry stuff back and forth. It is true. I think it will be a very good idea if at all we can have lockers for all the students at high or middle
I
school.
don't know that matter of the CBOs, but it's an interesting topic.
Yeah, I think it might not be a matter of CBOC, but it might fall under us, especially the conversion programs. And then Kelly is definitely there who can speak for us and the parent community.
Well, I will look into it and try and get a response for you all.
Thank you, Kelly.
Mhm.
Okay. So this summer, I actually had 2 requests to do a public briefing. And so on June 10th, I met with the Fremont Chamber of Commerce, the Connect to Succeed group. And also on July 19th, I met with the Fremont Seroptimus Club. And both appreciated the briefing and got a good response. So we made 2 public briefings while we were gone this summer. Okay, the next item we have is the CBOC membership and term service. And so Kelly, has the FUSD board approved the new terms for the CBOC, or has that gone to them yet? I'm not sure
It actually was submitted for the last board meeting, but I believe that they pulled it at the last minute. And it should be going on October 13th for approval.
Okay.
But I have not heard that they have not accepted it. I just know that it didn't make the agenda for the last meeting.
I think, Kelly, they did vote on it.
They did vote on it because I was instructed that I had to resubmit everything. So I'll take a look at the meeting again because
yeah, because I remember watching it and I thought, okay, CBOC part is done. So now I can go to bed.
I will verify.
So Chip,
Okay.
this is Carla again.
Hi.
So previously we had to reapply and had to be reappointed for CBOC membership. I think in 2019 I reapplied, but I don't remember reapplying for this term, and I don't know if that's something that all the members need to do or kind of what the process is.
That's
So,
if you want to participate in a new term or
to participate in a new term.
okay. I'm not aware of that.
The discussion that I remember from the board meeting was that it is within our bylaws to recommend the alternate members to become permanent members. And so there was lots of discussion, but at the end they said, okay, if it is in their bylaws, and then it is okay.
I don't think those are in the bylaws.
Yeah, so I don't remember. I switched my account, so I lost the bylaws. I need to ask you guys to send me the bylaws again.
So the bylaws, you can get them on the Fremont Unified
website.
School District website, but all the members need to be appointed, and then the number of the number of years for the term is based on what the bylaws say, is that it has to be terms will be drawn by lots, meaning that it needs to be like random in terms of whether someone serves a 3-year term or a 2-year term. Like if you look at, it's page 4, Article 4, membership, Section B1 of the bylaws. So I guess these are my questions. One is, so my term is technically up October 2021. And then, so if I want to reapply, that I need to, fill out the form. And then I also think that Fremont Unified needs to advertise as they've done in the past, that, members of the community can apply to be part of this committee, because I do think that, like we're losing Brian and we're losing Ashok, Jeff isn't here. There's definitely a lot of, obviously their terms are up, but there's a need to advertise, that people can apply to be part of this, part of CBOC. And I don't see that happening, and I think that needs to happen. So I don't know who is taking over Brian Kilgorn's duties in terms of communication. But how is that going to be addressed?
I can answer that. So the person who was recently hired, I believe she's 1 week on the job, is Laura Forrest. She's our new principal information officer. And she wasn't able to make this meeting because she's actually at another meeting already. But she will be attending our meetings as well. And I have discussed with her the options of advertising and creating some type of like weekly notification or monthly notification that can go out to parents to say, hey, the CBOC meeting is on such and such day, please join us, and kind of do exactly what you're talking about. But I will forward her information, her contact information to you all. But her name is Laura Forrest, and she's our new PIO. So.
Okay, good.
Carla, actually, 1 second. Carla, if you go to page 5, item F, it says vacancy, and under it says a vacancy on the committee may initially be filled by an alternate committee member.
Right.
But I think that there are still outstanding questions as to whether the reapplication, and I know in the reapplication is still an issue, in past years, because I've been on this committee quite a few years at this point, almost not as long as Brian, but quite a few years. We were notified, I think every year, whose terms were going to be expiring, who had to reapply. There was much more of a methodology applied to the membership, I believe. But then there was kind of the wholesale change of, there's been a lot of change in leadership at the Fremont Unified School Board. And I think that has affected things, because I don't think information was passed on in any sort of sense as to how things were run at all. Right. And that is now kind of fallen into default. And I frankly am confused, and I don't think I'm the only one.
So I think it's fair to ask that question about reapplication, because reapplication is different from alternate members being on board as full-time board position. But for that particular, the discussion was about whether an alternate member can become a full-time member at the board meeting. So according to bylaw, which is Article 4, Section F, it is, we were very much within the boundaries to promote alternate members to permanent members. However, the question still remains about getting reapplication of anyone else who wants to join or who wants to continue in the board. And there is a clause about term out too, right?
But it is not our committee that makes the decision about moving an alternate to a permanent position. That is,
School board.
That's the school board. And so those are the sorts of things that have kind of just, you agree? That's the way, I can only.
No,
speak
actually, it
the way it was
says
in
the
the past.
vacancy on the committee may initially be filled by an alternate committee member. It does not say who, but anyways, for now, school board has voted for the recommendations.
So the recommendation that was made to fill the 3 slots that became open
Yeah.
were from alternates.
Yes.
And if they approve that, then all of our alternates are open after that.
Yeah.
So we need a whole new class of alternates that need to be filled in very soon. And
So who were the 3 alternates that were named to permanent? Just for interest of the notes, thank you. I'm writing it down.
I
I
think it
have
was,
to-
my guess would be Vanita, Siv, and Susan. That would be my guess.
I know
Okay.
I was one of them. I don't know. I don't remember the 2.
I think you're correct, Carla. That kind of jars with my recollection as to the newest members. Okay, thank you. I just need to need it in the notes.
I mean, I think
yeah,
I-
it was Susan Howe, Benita, and Siv. It's been requested that they be promoted to members from the alternate status they had previously.
Okay.
so. I think I have 2 questions that I'd like possibly Kelly to find out. One is if we could get Laura Forrest to somehow advertise the need for new members to apply to the CBOC. If that means sending it out to all the different, schools. I remember seeing it in my school's my kids' elementary school newsletter about needing members. So if we could somehow ask Laura if that can be done. And then the second would be finding out if people who've termed out like myself, whether we need to reapply, and if that appointment needs to be approved by the board.
Okay. Got it.
Okay, while we're on the same subject, we do have 2 of our members retiring from the board, and that is, or 3 members actually, Jeff, and Ashok, and Brian and Ashok are here. Thank you very much for being here, and thank you for your service over the many years. What I don't know is, can you reapply, or once you term limit out, you can't reapply? I don't know what the bylaw says in that regard.
I think if you can't be part of it more than 6 consecutive years.
Okay, that's kind of what I figured, but I didn't know. So
Yeah, I don't think we can reapply. So I started out with Anu Natarajan when she was the chair of the CBOC, and then Brian and Jeff, and now Chip is the chair. And I want to thank all of them for guiding this committee to some successes and making it serve its purpose. And I'm glad I was part of that. I participated in some of the activities, but nevertheless, I think I didn't contribute that much. So I appreciate the support from everyone, and the continued success in rest of the members, continuing their participation and making it a successful venture.
all right, well, thank you, Ashok, for the nice words and for your service on the committee.
Okay. Well, with that, I'm going to leave the meeting and let you guys continue.
Okay, you're welcome to stay.
Thank
if
you,
want.
Ashok.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Ashok. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ashok. Definitely a pleasure serving with him and all of you as well. Well, and I'll just very briefly, this has been, I think, a great committee. Everyone's brought something else to it. I think we are kind of a model for what I think an oversight committee should do. Asking questions, working closely with staff, great collaboration. And I loved it. We used to go out and visit the sites, and I'm looking forward to us returning to doing that. And so I'm glad to be leaving you guys in good hands. I will probably still be around because I been involved. I've been involved with almost every bond issue since 1992. So,
Wow. Right.
although I did miss one in the middle there, but this is, and then to see the impact this is having for Fremont and for all our students has been fantastic. So, thank you again, and I will stick around a little longer as a member of the public now.
Okay, good. All right, thanks. Okay, our next order of business is nomination elections of the CBOC leadership positions. And all of our positions are open as we go into the new year, starting with the chair, the vice chair, the secretary, and the parliamentarian. So Kathy Lang has nominated herself for vice chair again. But we have no nominations as of yet from email or other means for the chair, the secretary, or the parliamentarian. So let's start with the chair. Would anyone like to self-nominate?
Does this mean I have to have board a computer and I have to know how to operate these damn secret programs on these computers? I'm not good at software. I've been forced to have a computer for the last 15, 20 years of my life. I'm not happy with them. I don't use cell phones, although I was deeply involved in the design of a lot of them. But you know what? It's all a waste of time. It's useless. I don't have time to sit here for an hour and a half and try and figure out how to get on these damn things. And so until we can have some face-to-face meetings, you may not see me. I mean, I tried my best again tonight. I tried all day today to figure out how this damn thing works. I had to import it back into the computer again. I don't understand how the system works. And until I'm a hardware engineer, until people can show me how this stuff works, I have no idea. And I don't claim to know anything about it. Nobody told me that I even needed a computer when I signed up for this, but I desperately, I want to belong because there's a lot of things about the schools I've got some questions about, especially schools that are Fremont, that are not in our Fremont Unified School District. One was just built down here by the station, by the BART station. So I have some questions I want to ask the board on that. I guess this is the way to go, but I can't qualify to be on any kind of an officer for this thing if I'm going to have to continue to use the computer. So tell me when we're going to have face-to-face meetings again, and then we can talk. And I know you can't predict that. Okay. So
we can't predict that.
yeah, I nominate Chip.
Well, I can't do it. I've done it 2 years in a row.
Okay.
And, I've taken on another role in another organization in Kiwanis. I've become the lieutenant governor of our division, and it's
just for you.
It's turned into a position that's extremely an extreme time commitment. So I'm not going to step away from the board, but I do have to step away from being the chair. So it's time for a new person, and I would nominate Vanita to be the chair. Vanita, you're quite vocal, you're quite involved, you're quite aware, and you've demonstrated you have good leadership skills and organizational skills. So I would like to nominate Vanita Furma if she will accept the nomination.
I will
second the nomination.
I will accept. Only thing is that just like you, I have taken some other responsibilities in California State PTA too. and I am heavily involved over there too. It's as I said, I just came back from the meeting, so I have to. I can do it with lots and lots of support from everybody. Without team support, it will be very hard for me to do it. As I said, that it's a full-time commitment for me too, for that particular position that I have at California State PTA. So I can accept the nomination gracefully if you guys promise that you're going to help me with everything.
I promise.
Chip, I will really need your help and your guidance. I have never done CBOC leadership. I had been a very vocal person to oppose things, but taking leadership is a different thing.
I second the nomination. It's time. It's time for the younger members of the committee to step up and step in. And some of us are going to be aging out within, I think it's the next year for me. So I'll take the notes, but for today. But thank you, Vanita.
Thank you. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
are there any other nominations from the floor for chair? Okay, hearing none, we'll close the nominations for chair. Secretary. Secretary, any self-nominations? Hearing none, I would nominate, I'll nominate Carla Cox for secretary.
I don't know if the secretary actually has a lot of duties per se, Chip. I think I'd probably just want to stick with like parliamentarian.
Yeah, she's parliamentarian.
Okay.
You know, at one time, the notes for this meeting in a prior life were not taken, I believe. Am I not correct, Brian? By members of the committee? Wasn't there somebody from the school board that always attended and took the notes? Do you remember that?
The bylaws actually state that the school district needs to have someone take the minutes.
Well, there was a period of time before
COVID.
Yeah, before.
Well, I think, wasn't it Ken that
Before
took?
Brian,
Yeah,
Brian
before
came on board.
Yeah,
when I was
that's what I
taking
would say.
notes.
Ken.
Before Brian came on board and after he left, and I was taking notes and publishing the minutes. So I was kind of doing double duty between chair and secretary.
But Carla, you're saying it's the school board, somebody
It's
from
the school districts. It's the school district's responsibility to provide someone to take minutes, which is why Brian Kilgorn was doing it. And I feel like they had someone. Did they have someone from Vanner who used to record them? Remember, there was that little tape recorder.
No, that was Ken. He was the public information person in district. I mean, not in district. I mean, in facility. If you remember, Ken.
Yeah, Ken Blackstone. I remember him.
Blackstone,
But I'm saying that there was somebody else. There was a young lady. Remember, she had like a
her
little
name was
cassette.
Brandy. Brandy used to just run the tape recorder, but Ken used to always do the minutes.
That's right.
Excuse me.
Yeah, I'm looking at the bylaws and it does say that the recording secretary shall, the clerical function of secretary shall be provided by the district.
Yeah. So it's my understanding that Laura will probably be the one who will be the person taking the minutes. And the reason being is that she has taken Ken and Brian's place and they're funded by the bond. So that's like her responsibility and role for this committee based on how the district is funding her position. Because I don't have an assistant anymore. So Eddie Contreras, who was my part-time, well, he was only here for the last 5 months. he's no longer with us. And then, of course, Sharon is retired. And then the young lady who took minutes for us before, Anita, she also has moved on to another position. So we'll just get that all squared away, and I'll make sure that Laura is aware of what she has to do, and we'll figure out who's going to do what so that that is covered.
Chip, maybe we skip the elected secretary, and maybe Susan would be interested in doing that when she's when she's in attendance.
Sounds good.
Okay, we'll leave it open. Okay. Do we have a motion to close nominations?
I move we close nominations.
Did we
Oh.
already choose a parliamentarian?
Carla,
I'll self-nominate.
Oh, okay,
I'll self-nominate as parliamentarian.
okay.
okay,
Now,
so,
now I move that we close nominations.
all right, thank you. A second?
Second.
Second by Kathy, okay. The slate for the offices are for Chair Benita Burma, for Vice Chair Kathy Lang. We're gonna leave the secretary slot open for now. And parliamentarian Carla Cox.
And
All
then
in
we
fa-
also had a publicity chair at one point, but I think that's also vacant.
Right, okay. Okay, all in favor of the nomination, the candidates being accepted? Aye.
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 Any opposed? You can't oppose yourself. Okay, congratulations. Benita, thank you for being willing to be the chair, and Carla and Kathy, thank you for resuming the positions you've had. And we'll continue on. I'll continue this meeting, but and Benita, I'll help you with the agenda for next time, and then we'll turn it over to you, and you'll run the chair. You'll run the meeting next time.
I'm sweating.
Okay. All right. The next item is key personnel. We've heard about Brian Kilgore's replacement with Laura Forrest. That's great. Are there any other key personnel matters that we need to know about, Kelly?
Yes, we have a new associate superintendent, Nancy Pfeiffer, and she is in charge of the business division. She replaced Marcus Battle. She also sends her apologies in not being able to attend the meeting tonight because she had a prior engagement for this evening, but she said she will be happy to attend periodically to offer any support or answer questions that you all may have directly related to the business activities of the business division for FUSD.
Okay, and can you spell Nancy's last name, please?
It is P as in Paul, F as in Frank, E as in Edward, I as in Ingrid, double F as in Frank, E as in Edward, and R as in Robert.
Okay, good. All right, we'll look forward to meeting her.
And I'm trying to think of anybody else. Oh, and yeah, I guess we don't have any other new people. We've had some other people that have left us, but you guys wouldn't have known who those folks were, so.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I was just thinking, with regard to the CBOC and
Sure,
our interaction.
Sure.
Okay, good. Okay, the next item is the Measure E bond program audit status. This is the one, the delivery of the report from the outside agency that did the audit.
Yes. So I have still been instructed by the superintendent's office not to release it. It is my understanding that he is reviewing it with the board, and it will be delivered to you all after they are finished with their review. That was the last information I was given with regard to what I have the ability to do with that report. So
Has this been an item on the school board agenda during the summer, or is this just being kicked down the road?
No, I
Uh,
believe that it was originally on this coming agenda for October 13th. I don't believe that it was on the agenda at all over the summer. But once again, I can't speak because I was, like I said, I was gone the whole month of July and August. But I don't believe that it was discussed in a public forum. And I know that we have had I've had 3 meetings with the associate superintendent and the superintendent to specifically talk about this particular report as well as another item. And at all 3 of those meetings, I've been instructed, do not release this information until we give you permission. So I will pass on your dissatisfaction with that decision to them, and we'll wait to hear what my instructions are moving forward.
Well, the report was finished in about what, April?
It was
Yeah.
in April. Yes.
And so here it is, October, and still no report. I'm
And
wondering,
it's my understanding, and this was what I was told the last time I met with the superintendent and associate superintendent. So when the report was created, Marcus Battle was in the associate superintendent seat. When he was prepared to actually present it is when they gave him his notice that his contract was not being renewed, and he ended up leaving like a week later. Then there was nobody in that seat. Then Raul Perengao came in for the interim, and we asked him what to do. And he says, I don't want to take any action on this until the permanent replacement for this position steps in. And CJ also recommended that. And so that was from like May to the end of June, because I believe Nancy came in July. And then I unfortunately was gone July and August, and she has been sort of hitting the ground running, doing what she's responsible for. And now we're here in October. And so it's my understanding they are preparing to present the information. They're just waiting to hear back from the board as to what their decision or whatever is going to be. But I unfortunately have not been given permission to release the information.
I understand that. The problem is, this came about because of the letter that we wrote the board early this year. And it was one of the corrective actions that the board implemented. It was going to take place quickly. It did take place quickly, and we're still waiting.
Well, I can say this, that Vanner and the facilities department have taken the recommendations that were in the report, and they have actually implemented quite a few of their recommendations. So when you all do get the report, you will have written responses from Vanner as well as the facilities department, and you all will have an idea of what corrective measures have been taken. But a lot of discussion has been had, and I haven't been privy to all of those conversations to know why they're hesitating in releasing this information.
Well, I'm inclined to think that the CBOC should send a short letter to remind the school board and particularly CJ that we've been waiting for this for quite a while, and to try to move it to the top of the pile.
I defer to whatever your decision is.
Okay.
I agree with Chip. I think this is a question of transparency, and this is also a report or audit that I believe was paid for with CBOC dollars. I mean, this is a citizens bond oversight committee. So if we are really to, do kind of our job, then we need to see what this report says. I mean, the more that they hold on to it, the more I'm thinking like there's something nefarious happening, which I think is worse for public, for what the public sees. Because why are they holding on to it if there's nothing, if there are some recommendations, fine, but I think this is just leading to more questions, like than
Well,
anything
I don't
else.
want you guys to think there is nothing that's nefarious that's in the report, and there's.
But how would
nothing
we
that-
know?
Well, what I'm saying is that I just want to reassure you that there isn't, and I believe the reason that they are slow to move on it is that they want to have an opportunity to have a full discussion with board members, because I know several of the newer board members are not, what's the word I'm looking for? They are not as current in terms of how the operation or the function of the CBOC as well as the bond is. And so I know I've been sending them a lot of information to educate them on historical information. So I don't want you to think that like, oh my God, they're holding something out. I believe that it's probably just part of that process of being very sure and making sure that they have all the information that they need. So, but I will, like I said, defer to whatever you all decide, and unfortunately I take my direction from, you know, the powers that be, and I if I could, I would, but I can't.
I'm just saying that it doesn't look good. And again, for one, sake of transparency, and two, for the fact that this is an audit that was, I believe, paid for with CBOC dollars. I think that we really need to push seeing it.
Mhm.
And I thought that's why we have oversight committees. That's what we're here for in the first place.
Yeah.
We need to see the report. Sorry.
Okay,
Yeah,
now
I will definitely agree with Carla and Paul, because this is absolutely this does not look very transparent when we, even though the reason might be very benign and nothing to do with any nefarious thing going on, but the fact is that it does not look good.
Sure.
We are a public committee. We are very much in public. We have to do things right, so that we are an example, not something that, oh, we let things slide by just like that.
Mhm.
So it is really important for us to be very transparent and ask for transparency from the district as well.
can I suggest something? And I do agree with the issues of transparency, but I also understand that the world has been a very crazy place this past year. There's been an enormous number of changes in the school board setup and things like that. What I would suggest doing is maybe drafting a letter and wait until November 1st to release. See whether they manage to get their act together. Because I think I heard Kelly say something about October 16th or something they may be briefing the board members on.
It's my understanding the October 13th board meeting is when they're shooting for briefing them on, or going to be talking to them about it. But as I said, I've not been given the like specific details.
And is there a backdoor way just to indicate that, you know, the committee is drafting a memo, an official memo to be released?
I will be letting CJ know tomorrow in my update that I have to give him after every meeting that I have with you all.
That's kind of balancing between the two things. But it is stating very clearly that we've got transparency concerns, but we recognize it's been a little bit nutty, but we could draft something in the meantime. It'll be released November 1st if we don't hear something.
Sure.
How does that sound?
I think that's a good idea, Kathy.
I think Carla's got her hand up. Oh,
That's a very good idea, because we have to stay balanced while giving them opportunity to produce the report.
I agree with Kathy.
Yeah.
okay.
I will send a message to CJ tomorrow, and I can CC you all on that so you can see that it's done.
Okay. Let's record that in the minutes as our plan.
I'm writing it down.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, the next one is, the next item is Measure E Financial Audit Report Follow-Up. Kelly, there was the one action item that remains open regarding the expenditure of bond funds on the Williamson project. That was
So
open
I
at
did
the last
concur.
meeting, May, and we haven't heard the reply yet.
So I believe at the last meeting, I had shared with you all that I did confer with the auditor. And her explanation was that there was not actually an expenditure. It was a notation that was made on a ledger, but there were actually no funds that were actually taken from Measure E and expended on the Williamson project. And so I've asked our accounting department to also prepare an actual statement because I don't have any, I don't have access to that to like go in and show what the ledger states, but in speaking with Edie Bailey or Eddie Bailey, I can never remember, they were stating that they only put that in the report because that was a notation that they had saw on the ledger, but there were actually no funds that were actually expended from Measure E for the Williamson project. There was actually, I believe, $3 million that's going to be taken from the developer fund, which is Fund 40, that will be used for the Williamson site, but there was no dollars that were actually used from the Measure E Fund 21 program for Williamson.
As I recall, though, the financial report showed the Williamson project with.
Right, that was the
dollar amount.
notation. That was the notation that the auditor was stating that she had used that information from our own ledger books. But when we went back and actually did the, the cash flow, there was no transaction to show that $3 million was ever actually expended from the Measure E fund of Fund 21. And Banner and I actually went back and looked as well, and there's no transaction over the last 4 years that shows a transaction of $3 million for the Williamson site.
So you indicated that the finance department was going to reply to this action.
Yes.
And give us a response.
Mr. Robbie Pascal in, well, Raisa Abbasi was in the process, but he's also gone now. He left the district on, I believe, September 21st was his last day. So I believe Robbie Pascal, who's our accounting director, he's going to go ahead and prepare a statement for us.
When do you think that'll be done?
I will follow up with him tomorrow. He's been out the last few days, but I will follow up with him tomorrow and try and get that to you guys before our next meeting.
He's a good guy.
Mm-hmm. Super transparent.
Yes.
He's the numbers man. I've never seen anybody that can look at spreadsheets and like tell a story like he does.
Okay. All right, we'll be watching further the response.
Thank you for doing that, by the way. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay, the next item is, we're right on track, by the way, on the timeline here. The September, month ending September financial report.
Yes, I can share my screen.
Oh, okay, there you go. Yep.
There you go. So this is the financial report through September 30th. There's been a little bit of changes, not much. The total available funding increased about 198,000, and that was due to Prop 39 funding and Prop 51 funding being added to that. So you see this, this number changed from the May CBOC to the September CBOC report.
Okay.
A little bit more detailed here. Our program contingency fund decreased a little, about 51,000. That was due to the fact that of adding the Prop 39 and the Prop 51 funding. And the Prop 51 funding was actually an interest revenue that was previously missed that we had to add back into the program contingency. We subtracted 250,000, however, to the Washington Theater project. So that's the reason why there's a decrease in the program contingency from May through today. There's been some changes, of course, of expenditures to date. Get to the end here. For all the projects in progress right now, we had an increase of for about 41 million in total expenditures for the duration of the last CBOC meeting to the one we're having today, or September. Let's try to get to that. Sorry, my report's not doing what it's supposed to be doing. Give me a minute here. Go back up here. Oh, it's kind of step here. Gosh, sorry about that. It's not letting me go to the end to let you show you the total. However, the total for the in progress job expenditure to date is 175 million. It jumped from 133 million back in May till now. So that's a increase of 41 million in increased expenditures from May through today. The other highlights on this report is we went ahead and did some project sweeps as promised from last time. American High School was the first one that produces a 1.7 million in surplus. So that will be eventually we'll need to put that back into program contingency. The other job is the facilities VoIP project that had a surplus of 164,000 that we swept the project, which is right here. Yeah, the 164,000 there. And then the next job that we swept was Grimmer Mod, which was down here. There it is right here. And that produced a project sweep of 26,000. And then total was 5 jobs. So the next job would be the Walters, and that was the $7,920 in project sweep. And finally, the last one down to Walters here. Can you all see this?
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's like the 7,920 here. That's another surplus here that will be going back into program contingency. And then finally, the last job was the Washington, which is up here, sorry, right here. And that was total, that was 10,213. So all these, which is, it comes to a total of 1.9 million that will be swept and put back into program contingency.
Teresa, can you please scroll down a little bit more? We
Sure.
cannot see Washington, we only see Warwick. There, thank you.
Yes, that's the Washington here of the 10,000. So the total is 1.9 that will be put back into program contingency once we sweep all this back up. And
great.
that's, go ahead. Chip, did you have a question?
Yeah, no, I don't have a question. I'm just saying that's very good. I'm glad that the project's underran and performance is really good.
Yes. So yeah, and then of course the rest of the report is jobs that haven't started.
Right.
So that's about it. Anybody have any questions?
Can you
Sure.
give us, the total of contingency money that we have?
Yes, as of right
Plus additional.
now. Move back up one to the top. As of right now, our program contingency is about 16,285,955.
Thank you.
And of course, that will change once I put the surpluses back in here. And that will probably happen in the next CBOC meeting. Any other questions?
So do we have plans for this 17 million, almost 18 million?
So let me answer that. So what is going to happen in November, Vanner and I are going to actually present to you options for other projects that we could actually utilize those dollars for. And we're going to ask for you all to give us a recommendation that we then will take to the board for consideration. And then the board can then make a decision as to whether or not they'll give us approval to spend those dollars on those projects that we identify. And once that happens, then that $16 million will then be allocated to those specific projects that are currently listed as either unfunded, or there may be other projects that have been created due to, adverse conditions at specific sites that we have to address immediately. So that's going to be the next sort of wave of activity that we're going to do with regard to the projects for the bond program. Because by the end of this year, all of the middle schools will be coming upon almost their 50% mark. And so that's a very good time for us to now take a snapshot look to see how they're performing and to know where we are with the contingencies that we have identified for those right now, and kind of forecast trend-wise what our spending would look like. And hopefully we're not going to have any surprises, and hopefully the price of materials, we locked a lot of our material prices in last year when a lot of the projects were bid, but because of the supply chain issues that we're having right now, we're starting to see a spike in some of our products that we're procuring. And so we want to, of course, keep a little bit held to the side, but we also want to keep projects moving forward, because as you guys know, we also have a time limit on when these dollars need to be spent. And so we don't want to be so close to that time that we can't spend the remainder of whatever's in the bond in a timely fashion and benefit, the residents in the time frame that was established. So that's the plan.
Kelly, you said something that kind of raised my antenna up a little bit.
What's that?
Sounds like there might be a couple projects that are in process right now that have an overrun that may be looming. Is that
so
possibility?
Actually, there are two. So right now we have the Centerville Middle School project. We are running into dry rot, foundation problems, and geotechnical issues that we did not anticipate. So the USGS gave us approval when we initially started the projects, and we did all of our surveying and analysis, things like that. But as we're putting in the foundations for the new structures, we're running into some underground issues, very similar to what was happening at Thornton. And so we are, we're doing our due diligence and trying to determine what the best options are in terms of how to solve the problem. But we know as time goes by and as the complexity of the problem increases, there also is dollars attached to that. So when we have as much information as we can, we're going to also bring that forward to you all so that you'll have an opportunity to review it. But right now we have severe dry rot at the weight room, which in that portable, which is actually a permanent structure, we found out it's about 57 years old. And so
Right.
basically the walls are just crumbling from termites, dry rot, and just age, because it was never built to last that long and to be, under the conditions that it's in. And then our roofs are what we thought was in really good shape. In the process of removing the top layer just to do a maintenance and up and refresher, we're finding that people are stepping on these roofs and they're actually falling through. And so those are situations where we have to do a full tear off and repair and rebuild the entire, roofing system. And those are pretty significant costs. And we're trying to kind of get a handle on it. Over the last 2 weeks, Lisa, we've been doing maybe about 4 or 5 tests just to pothole in different areas to see what's stable and what's not. And so we're just crossing our fingers that, as they say, the dry rot stops.
Is the roof problem at Centerville also, or at other schools?
We have 7 schools that have roof problems right now. And of the 7, 5 are not part of the bond program at this time.
That should be maintenance money.
Right, but maintenance has no money. So
Well,
that's why.
that doesn't mean you get to put it on the bond.
No, but the new associate superintendent has actually taken all facilities and all maintenance and operations construction projects, and she's assigned them to the bond, because her explanation to me was that as long as it's construction and it supports instruction, that it's an allowable expense on the bond. And I explained to her that this particular bond is not structured in that manner. And that's something that she needs to bring to you all and have a discussion about before she actually implements that.
Oh,
And so-
absolutely. I see another
Right.
audit coming.
So that is from her words, and I'm just sharing that with you all, that will be something that she will have to present that to you, because I don't necessarily agree with that strategy. And of
Neither do
course,
we.
I'm not in a position where I have the wherewithal or the ability to challenge that decision, since she is my boss. And so know that action has actually already been put into motion. And we staff are documenting all of the actions that have been taking place since she has been in the position of associate superintendent.
Well, in your briefing to CJ, you might indicate that this was brought to our attention and this is not something that should be done. And I think we could be very vocal about it. And we can certainly go beyond the school district. And I believe that's why they set up citizens oversight committees, just to deal with this sort of thing.
So that's going to be coming your way. But the projects that I'm speaking of are projects that have already been identified within the bond program that we may have an opportunity to actually fund and get done with some of this program contingency dollars after we've evaluated kind of where all the other projects are and what we have the ability to do, in terms of our forward forecast. And so I like you all like to be very conservative in how we are spending, but I also don't want, like I said, I don't want us to get up against the clock where we kind of wait till sort of the sunset of the projects that are under construction to say, okay, now let's build, but we only have 12 or 13 months left before, our window of opportunity to spend is gone. And so that's why I like for us to go ahead and start looking at them now. So by maybe this time next year, we'll have a concrete plan of action of, hey, these are projects that we know we can get done. Let's go ahead and pull the trigger on them and do them.
So do you have a rough idea how much the Centerville Foundation and dry rot problem is? Just a wild guess. Kind of.
I'm just going to throw a high a high six figures. So it's not going to be cheap, but it's not going to be inexpensive either. So
And the roofs, if that were actually bond money, how much would that be?
well, an average roof on a 10,000 square foot building, which is like a classroom building, is around $500,000 to $600,000 full replacement each. We have 3 buildings on that site. So we're going to try and figure out how we can get our roofing contractor to give us a bundled bid and drive the price down and maybe get a lower cost per square foot if all 3 are done, you know, at the same time and you know, the same way and all that good stuff. So we're working out some strategies to figure out how to drive that number down. But just dollar cost averaging, they run about $500,000 and up.
And there's 3 of them or 7 of them?
No, there's 3 of them within the Centerville campus. But when I talk about there's 7 sites that have roofing issues. So Centerville is just one site, but it has 3 roofs that need to be replaced. And then I've got 6 other sites with many roofs that need to be replaced on each site. So it's quite expensive, and we're just trying to, I'm working with Kevin Arthur, and we're actually creating a matrix to see like which ones we have to do like right away versus those that we can kind of nurse along until we get another big chunk of money to just kind of do a district-wide replacement. Because most of the roofs are between 30 and 40 years old. So they're really, they've done well for what they've been used for, but they're just really starting to show their age and fail.
How come we don't have how come we don't have money for maintenance of these buildings that we're building? This is great.
Well,
you can't take it out of the bond issue. That's fine. How about maintaining the equipment we have?
So one of the problems that we have is that we're a big district, but we're not a Title I school district. So Title I schools are those that are usually have high numbers of students that have free lunches and, you know, show lots of need.
Really, I'll take a Title II school district. I don't care what you call it. You got to maintain the buildings.
Well, all of that takes money. And because we don't have a lot of schools that fit that category, when we get our funding from the state, we are never fully funded for what we need to actually maintain our facilities. That's why the bond programs become so wonderful and helpful, is because they basically shore up that fund and provide resources for the facilities to be upgraded and maintained. And so,
me, Kelly, I know you work hard at this, but the question I have as an outsider, just looking at this thing, saying, can't you maintain the equipment we already have? But you just said that 80% of our buildings require maintenance, but we don't have any money to maintain them.
Right.
Oh, there's a historical reason behind this. When the things for the distribution of money from the state was set up, the Bay Area in particular was more rural, and it was aimed at funding more of the Los Angeles area. And this is very simply put. And so when there have been attempts to change this, obviously the Southern California is very resistant to a change because it would mean their share of the pot that comes from the state would be less. The Bay Area is not rural anymore, but what we are getting in funds is as if we were a rural area. This is a historically bad situation. So that's
maybe it's time for us to speak up and have that change.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Chip, Brian has his hand up.
Yeah.
Brian has been patiently waiting to say something. He's had his hand up for a while. Brian?
I just an interjection. I've been here since 1984, and the school district always kind of interested me because they told me that if we pass this issue where everybody we get the gambling issue, we can buy lotteries, then the schools will be taken care of. That hasn't happened. It's time for somebody to speak up and say, "The hell's going on here, folks?"
Okay, Brian, it's your turn.
Thank you for giving me some time. So I know the district has a budget for maintenance. I don't remember which department that is, Kelly, but I think
It's M&O.
M&O. So it's a different department that manages that, and that I'm sure tries to stretch it as much as it can. And I'm sure it doesn't cover all the needs, but I think it's useful to have that context for how much maintenance
Sure.
money.
Well, out of our general fund, maintenance gets 2.2% of the overall general fund for maintenance and operations. The budget that's submitted for what is actually needed in terms of operation and functioning of that department is around 6.5%. So you guys can see the disparity in, yeah, you build a budget and you say, I need this much money, but then when it comes down to it, they only fund, less than a third of what was originally asked for. So that's where you get this imbalance, and, they're always robbing Peter to pay Paul to cover and to get things done. And the other problem that we have in maintenance and operations, they're down 20% in staff right now. So when a call gets, made, or like, for instance, we have on average between 75 and 100 work orders that come in specifically related to heating and cooling every week. They only have 3 people to address all of those calls that are on staff. So it poses, that's the other challenge, in that we don't have enough bodies to actually complete all the work that's actually being generated. So we're just kind of in a bad spot right now, but I'm not trying to make excuses, but it's just kind of the reality that we're in, and trying to make it work with very little.
Well, with regard to the roofs, the rainy season is coming, so.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Chip, I have a question.
Yeah, Peter.
Kelly, 2 questions. First, what is with, we have Prop 59, and I don't remember the other prop's name, which was specially created for school maintenance. Why are we not using those funds for maintenance? Why are we trying to use CBOC Measure E bond money, which is specifically for middle school conversion and an upgrade? I don't think
we are using those funds as well.
Okay, so with that, when you're using that, even then we are at 2.2%.
Yes.
Okay. So the second question will be, and of course, I must tell you that I'm not in favor of using CBO's Measure E bond money for maintenance. Really, clearly, very much against it. However, when you are talking about maintenance, do you have the roof? Is Mission San Jose High School one of the schools which was stated down for within those 7 schools? With
1 second, let me get my little spreadsheet here. Are you talking about Mission San Jose Elementary or the high school?
High school.
So let's see. Yes, they actually are on the list. They are on the list, and I believe it says that they actually had some work done in 2018, but I have to verify what that work was, because I know that they did get the technology upgrades, and they did do the swimming pool heaters and a bunch of the other technology and energy related stuff, but I need to dig a little further and see if I know they did do a patch, but I don't know if there did full replacements out there. But they are
what I heard from the students was that they are literally putting on buckets underneath the leakage from the roof, from the ceiling.
This was true in 1985. My kids, I had 3 of them going through they issued them all new buckets when they got to the school. You walk in, you get a bucket. If it's dripping near your desk, you put the bucket there so that the floor doesn't rot. We got to maintain the equipment we got, folks. And I don't care, all this new stuff is crazy until we do that first.
Yeah. No, we're just not in a good place, and it's unfortunate, but we're trying to make lemonade with the lemons that we have. So
well, that lemon doesn't belong to maintenance. So just so you know,
let's just change the lemons, okay?
Yeah.
The fact is that we need the right equipment there to maintain it. that maintain the equipment we paid for. Otherwise, all this other money is wasted, as far as I'm concerned. It starts leaking and they're still carrying buckets around. I don't care what they did in 2018. Okay, that I know that still the roof still leaks in places, and it's known. They issue the kids buckets when they walk into class. Empty your bucket before you leave the room. Okay, that's it.
Well, it's definitely on my list of 7. So I'm hoping that once we do a little more investigation and scope development, I'll have a very clear picture for you guys as to what we would hope that we're able to, accomplish
So
with.
Kelly, this all started out with the discussion about what's going to happen with the contingency.
Yes.
And you mentioned you're going to put together a plan. How much of the contingency do you plan on taking down to fund other projects and possibly these problem projects?
Well, what I'd like to do is put together the list of projects first and identify what the scope is.
Yeah.
And then we come up with whatever the budgets end up being, and then I can come back to you all and we have a discussion. And you all can look through and make recommendations as to what, hey, let's prioritize, or, determine what's a have to versus, hey, this is a great, creature comfort that, needs to happen at a particular site. So,
But at the same time, we do need to maintain a contingency. So you can't anticipate that you're going to get 16 million, take the contingency to 0.
oh, absolutely, absolutely,
And fund unfunded projects with 16
absolutely,
million. Okay.
absolutely,
All right, good.
absolutely.
All right, well, we'll await your plan. When will that plan be? At the next
I'm
meeting?
hoping that we can have something together for you guys for the December meeting. Because I'm meeting with a lot of people between now and the first week of November. So, and then I'll have more direction from the associate superintendent as to what she wants me to do by that time as well.
Can I make a quick comment? The last time there was a bond prioritization, the board, I believe, asked the Facilities Advisory Committee to look at that. So we may want to consider that as well.
Right.
And full
So both
disclosure.
committees, you want both committees to then look at it?
Well, it's the conversations around advisory versus oversight that the board had in the past, was that they wanted advisory from the Facilities Advisory Committee and the Oversight Committee to be oversight. I personally think it's good for both, more eyes is better for both committees, but I did want to mention that. And I guess full disclosure, I was just elected to the Facilities Advisory Committee chair, so. I can,
Congratulations.
yes.
Carla, did you got your hand up? Carla, did you have
Yes.
something else? Okay, go ahead.
Along the same lines as Brian was saying, that I don't recall this committee ever really having a asked to make recommendations necessarily. It's always been kind of looking at the decisions that have been made, but not actually being part of the decision making. I guess I think there's a nuance to that in terms of, we're overseeing what decisions have been made, but we're not part of the decisions, if that makes sense. And
I agree with that.
so I don't know where that all falls.
We don't manage the money. We oversee how the money is being.
Exactly. Like, we aren't necessarily part of saying, okay, spend 5 million here and do this and do that. We're kind of like, oh, was this 5 million spent the way it was supposed to be spent? So,
Right.
I mean, I think
an identification as to whether or not it really falls under the measure.
yes, I do agree with that, Kathy, but I'm just saying that, like, I don't want to, I don't know. I just,
You don't want to overstep your role. is what
yeah.
you're
And
saying.
I also don't want to necessarily have too many cooks in the kitchen. Like, if the FAC was created to advise the board, then I don't want to add another kind of complication to that, because we, if our role is oversight, then I think it should be maintained as such.
Very good. I think that's a good comment. Okay, I think we went to the project status report. Oh, wait, one more thing for Clarissa. Clarissa, can you email out the finance report, please?
Excuse me?
Email out to me and I'll forward it out to the CBOC. But
Okay.
your detailed finance report.
Yeah, I emailed that earlier to you today.
Oh, you did? Oh, I'm
Yes.
sorry, I didn't realize that.
I didn't know there was anybody else. I just emailed it to you.
Okay, I didn't realize that. I'll look for it and I'll forward it out to everyone else. I'm sorry, I didn't
No
realize
problem.
you had sent it.
No problem.
Okay.
Let's see, Lisa, did you want to go ahead and report out on the update on the,
Sure.
and you can share your.
Yeah,
If you don't have it, I have it.
I have it. Hold on one second. Okay, here we go. All right. You can see my screen and not my grandson, I hope. You see the report?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so, and I would echo Kelly's comments in terms of roofing, but I'll touch on just a couple as we go through this report. So the report update, starting with design, a couple of really good updates, exciting updates to note on Thornton Middle School conversion. So Thornton's increment 1 and increment 2, they're in increment 2 right now, which is the construction of the new buildings. And increment 3 is a lot of underground work that has been completed. But increment 3B, which is the new classroom modernization. So that's the modernization of the existing buildings. And then increment 4, which is the admin library, has been stalled in DSA for quite some time, as you'll recall, due to an additional request by CGS or a request by CGS for an additional review. That has finally been completed. And we got the comments actually on Friday of last week. So CGS is finally resolved and moved forward. So that is going to allow these last 2 phases of Thornton, 3B and 4, to move forward as well. So increment 4, which is again, the admin library building, that is now has received the letter from CGS, and DSA will move forward in finalizing their comments we anticipate that should take through about the month of November. And so we'll be looking at getting DSA comments, back check, and then getting back through DSA to finalize that design, and then allowing us to go out to bid and hopefully hitting the ground, begin construction sometime January, February of those increments. If that DSA review completes earlier, then we'll be able to pull that in and hopefully perhaps even go out to bid late November. So that is one nice exciting push for Thornton Middle School conversion. The Centerville phase 3 increment 2, which is the locker room modernization and the portable locker room projects, that is still in DSA. We anticipate getting that out of DSA in November as well. Procurement anticipated November, December, and construction for that portion of Centerville starting in January as well. So those actually are that piece of Centerville is actually tracking just as per scheduled. So they are not experiencing any real delays there. Kennedy High School modernization is in final 100% CD phase. So we anticipate Kennedy to go into DSA, the DSA submittal date. We have a DSA appointment scheduled. We got on their docket, and that DSA appointment for DSA submittal is 10/21, so October 21st. We anticipate DSA review to take about 4 months. If it gets out sooner, all the better. We'd like to get out to bid as early in the spring as possible, because that's always a better time to bid and we get better bids from contractors. But right now, Kennedy is tracking for DSA approval in December, January, and then hopefully get out to bid February, March. so that we can give a late NTP date of April, and they can start doing the first phase of construction for Kennedy, which would be mobilization end of April, going through May, and then setting up the interim housing, et cetera, so that the contractor can hit the ground running June 1st or June 4th, whatever the last day of school is. The group one, Kennedy is another site. To go back to the roofing issue, Kennedy's original scope is just a minor roof repair, particularly around the areas where we are changing out the HVAC systems, which then would require new curbs. But we have asked the architect to do a little bit of additional review on that roof to make sure that well, to see if we are going to run into the same kinds of dry rot issues that we have been having with Centerville and Hopkins. And not so, right now we don't know about Thornton because we aren't doing the existing buildings, but Centerville and Hopkins are displaying so much dry rot that we thought it would be a wise choice to have a little bit more review done on that roof to see if we're going to anticipate running into any dry rot there. Similarly, with the group one elementary school projects, the 5 elementary schools, including group one, we know for a fact that Matos, we are in project assessment phase. The architects have been out doing their assessments. They're pulling their design together for the preliminary scope review. But in terms of Matos particularly, the roofing again, the roofing portion of their scope is really related more to the HVAC system change out. But Matos has reared his ugly head as one of the sites that is experiencing severe failure. As an example, in walking across one of the overhangs over the crosswalk, someone is actually stepping through that. So we anticipate that Matos is experiencing severe failure and dry rot on their substructure. So we are looking at pricing right now what we would have to anticipate for a full replacement on that site. And that's running just shy of 900,000. So you can see our budget is only 4 million. That was the budget assigned to the minimal amount of scope that was supposed to happen at that site. So that's one of the sites that Kelly's also referring to, that we're going to anticipate having to add a little money to this project to replace that entire roof. And it's not just the roofing, of course, it's replacing the substrate, which is the portion that's rotted out. A lot of dry rot, a lot of termite damage we're running into a lot of these sites. So we're already looking forward on these couple of sites that are in design to see if we can really pin down what might be necessary to address these roofs going into it, and have it included in the contract rather than have it become a change order after the fact. So we're trying to do a little bit of preventative, taking some preventative measures and doing a little destructive testing there to hedge our bets.
Lisa, could I ask about, so I think the Matos roof had work done to it at the end of last year, like a kind of like a tarring and repair job. Because I remember there, there was, that there's that smell from when they work on a roof. And
yeah, it sounds like they might have been doing some patching, repairing. Kelly might know more about that. I've only been in the district since May, sorry. But Kelly might know if something was done in terms of patch and maintenance, Kelly? I haven't seen any documentation to that effect, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen.
No, M&O actually did do some patch and repairs, but it was just, kind of intermittent in specific spots. And what happens a lot of times when they do repairs like that, because you don't tear off and pull back the entire roof, you get pockets of moisture that kind of like when you put a piece of tape on a flat surface and you see the bubbles that pop up under it. That's what happens when you put a hot mop coat on top of a roof that you're repairing. a lot of times the moisture still gets trapped in there and it just continues to eat away at the underlayment. And until it actually fails, you never know that it's actually there. And so that's what's happening specifically at Matos. And you know what, I wasn't thinking, we should have had pictures for you guys to see a lot of this stuff. But as part of what we're going to do in the future, in these reports, I will
We'll
start
start
to
adding
also bring
pictures.
visuals, because
Yep.
I know it's hard for you guys to visualize what we're talking about without actually seeing it. And so I will make sure that we provide that level of detail for you guys so that you have context to what we're talking about.
Yeah,
Sure.
that's actually an idea we've started formulating a little while ago. So that we'll try and get that incorporated as well.
Yeah.
Moving forward, construction projects, Hopkins Middle School. So an update for that during the course of the summer. Modernization was completed to buildings C, D, and F, which are classroom buildings. And then as well as the portables. The 9 portables that were out at the existing site were relocated over the summer, set on their permanent concrete foundations. Only 7 of them actually got relocated. 2 of them were demoed, the 2 worst ones. So they relocated 7, and those were all set up. And all of these spaces were completed for occupancy in August. You might see, if you drove by, the new parking lot area on the west side of the site, which is being used right now for the bus drop off and pickup. But that is the existing one of the existing parking lots. And then on the east side of the building, once they complete the new building J, which is the 2-story structure, there will be some additional parking on that side as well. But CDF, the portable relocation, the new parking lot, all of these items were completed with some force, I would say, over the summer. At one point toward the last few weeks, the last 6 or so weeks of construction for the summer, the contractor was putting down over $1 million a week. So they had a lot of work going on there. Moving forward, the new multi-purpose building K1, the new music building K2, the gym, which is building E, is currently under construction, and that continues. The slabs for K1 and K2 are in various phases of construction. The footings, for example, in the K1, the multi-purpose building, those footings have already been poured. K2, similar, they're getting poured, and then the slabs will be done. So then we are finally coming out of the ground on those 2 buildings. Building J, which again is on the opposite side of the site, and is the 2-story structure, that is still very much in earthwork and grading, and getting preparation to start getting some foundations and or some footings and slab going over there, but there's still quite a bit of grading going on on that side. Moving forward, building A and B, which was the existing office building and the library. Those have gone under construction. They were really scheduled to start next summer, but the contractor has taken advantage of having the unoccupied site. They have started buildings A and B early. Those have gone into demolition and containment, or demo and abatement. That actually comes out tomorrow, and so they will start. Those 2 buildings were a full gut interior, and so they will start reconstruction on the interior of those buildings. Get way ahead of that. The roofs are already been peeled off. They have found quite a bit of dry rot on those 2 buildings as well, but not nearly as extensive as we had found on C, D, and F. And so it's minimal there, but we already have the new roof going on at that site. So no concerns there. It's really more about replacing the substructure or the substrate for the new roofs. Site work continues. The new bioswales, there's 4 bioswales on that site, which is interesting. If you drive by again, you might see them, just these big pits in the front of the school. So that's all going to capture all the water and recycle all of that, and public utility connections, et cetera. So that site is still very heavily moving forward. Construction is going gangbusters there, with the intent to have all of the interior buildings, with the exception of building G, complete for their move back in December. And then it will be a matter of finishing off building G, and then continuing the new buildings around the exterior of the site. Thornton is going very well. No real issues at Thornton at all, because it is all new construction. So those buildings are up and framed, and you'll see if you go by, you'll probably see the plaster going on the exterior of those 5 buildings, new elevators in progress, that kind of thing. So it's that project's just streaming along really smoothly. The phase 3 and increment 4, which is again for Thornton, is their library and the modernization. So once the drawings come out of DSA for the library, they will be able to put those 2 phases or increments out to bid, and Thornton phases. Thornton will start once the new buildings are complete and the drawings are out of DSA, then all of the existing classrooms will swing into the new buildings, and then the existing classroom modernization phase 3B will start. So they're kind of, one is contingent on the other there. Centerville Middle School conversion, phases 1 and 2 were completed, and we have received DSA certification. So that portion of Centerville project is closed. Phase 3 summer work, which was buildings F, I, and J, were completed over the summer, and are occupied no problem. Building H, which is the large new building, that slab is underway. That's complete, and then you'll start seeing steel swinging at Centerville probably next month. Actually, you'll start seeing steel swinging at Hopkins also starting this month. So those are well underway there. And building K, the heavy dry rot portable, that's the weight room that Kelly mentioned. We're still evaluating what we're going to do with that building. So we have a few options. We're trying to put repair in kind, so that if we are able to remove the areas that are severely dry rot, one full wall at the end of that building has to be completely replaced. But we've had many visits with DSA, which is the overseeing agency, the inspectors, structural engineers, trying to figure out what we're going to do with this. And if we are able to replace in kind, that will not trigger another DSA review, and we'll be able to continue with construction.
Lisa,
if we're not able to replace in kind.
Lisa, is that building K in such bad shape it can't even be occupied by students this year?
It's not currently occupied. It is that particular building is where they hold the weight program. So it's the weight room.
Oh, okay.
So currently they have all of the equipment moved into another space. And that room was supposed to basically just be gutted on the inside and then receive all new interior finishes. And when they gutted it is when we discovered all of the dry rot. Like I said, it's a 31 by 90 portable structure that was relocated to Centerville from the old American High School. It was called something else way back then. 1984, it was relocated to Centerville, and it was about 20 years old at that time. So it's quite an old structure. But
Lisa,
we are.
Have any of the planned occupancy dates changed and moved outward during the summer?
For any of the projects or for Centerville?
Any of the projects.
The end conversion date, no. And particular phases for Centerville and Thornton, no. Hopkins did have a planned occupancy for summer And that's where the district determined that the district decided to move Hopkins over to Bringhurst. And so they've occupied that, and they are moving back in December. But the long range end of construction, no, we have not had any severe schedule impacts that will impact us not finishing in time to complete the conversions on time.
So everything stayed on schedule?
Everything is on schedule for the long range, yeah.
Okay.
You just have interim little phases here and there that, you know, but so far so good. We are well ahead of schedule for the conversion on Thornton. And as long as everything stays and we stays on track and we don't experience too many delays in terms of the materials, we will stay on track.
What did you say about Bringhurst?
Hopkins relocated to Bringhurst temporarily for a few months.
So there's no,
and they will be
no
moving
students
back in.
at Hopkins?
I'm sorry?
There are no students at Hopkins right now?
There
They're
are
all
no
over
students at
Bringhurst?
Hopkins right now. It's unoccupied, yeah.
Yeah, I
And
drove by
that's
there
what's
the other-
allowing them to complete some of those buildings early.
Yeah, I drove by Bringhurst the other day at about the time school was letting out and there was a million cars.
Yeah. Yeah, so it is allowing Hopkins, because of the amount of site work that had to occur at Hopkins and the fact that it's got 3 buildings being constructed right around the main core of the campus.
Yeah.
Them being at Bringhurst is allowing Hopkins to move much faster. And so
good.
they can complete the interior of the core rather than try and swing them into temporary spaces. They'll be able to complete the interior of all of the buildings, the core of the campus. And then when they move back in December, we will, as I said, only have the new buildings under construction. So they will save off the core of the campus and continue to construct around it.
Okay, does anybody
and
else have
then-
any questions about the projects?
Nope.
Okay, I
Cool.
think we better move on, Lisa. You gave us
Yeah.
a lot, you gave us a lot
We're
of
down at the
detail,
end. There you go.
but- Okay. All right, so is there any update on school board action items that we need to know about?
No, because I actually, oops. Can you guys hear me?
Yep,
Okay. I actually have not had anything that has gone to board for Measure E in the last 2 months because I've been gone. So we will have lots of actions for Measure E this coming October and November.
okay. All right, and we don't have any CBOC special meeting topics for tonight, so we'll move on to future meeting topics. We've been talking about long-range facility master plan for quite some time. Can you give us the short version, Kelly, on what's the status of that?
The short version is the superintendent suspended those activities in May.
Okay, so
So
it's still on
we-
suspension.
We will resume those activities in November.
Okay,
He's given me the go-ahead to start that process again, so I'll have some information to share with you all at that time.
okay. And let's see, Horner School, possible from next
Say that one more time.
Horner School? Is it possible
Horner.
we could have our meeting at Horner next month?
Actually, I did ask the superintendent and he said that he is going to let me know shortly. Those were his exact words.
Okay,
Because
maybe.
we still have sort of the process and procedures for COVID compliance, and he wants to make sure that, I guess there's after school activities and then there's our activities. And I explained to him that we would be there way after any school activities, but he just wants to verify with the risk manager that as long as we notify you all of what our process and procedures are, and we adhere to them, that we can actually have our meeting at the site. Because right now they're not allowing any outside activities outside of instruction on the sites right now.
Okay. We'll put that in the maybe category then.
Well, I'm gonna cross my fingers.
Okay. All right, let's move on to new business and other items. We've had one request by one of our members, Vanita, our new chair, to start this meeting at 6:30 instead of 6 o'clock in the future. And so
6:30 if we are continuing on Zoom, but if we are going in person, 7 will be. I know it is way too late for everybody, but as I told you, I am juggling between two different positions, and I just don't know how to do it without missing out one totally and being here.
so 6:30 on Zoom, but if we were to meet live and in person, you'd want to start at 7, Vinny?
That is what I would recommend. I understand. I
Yeah.
totally understand that it's too late for everybody, but that's my situation that I wanted to share with you guys.
Okay.
The advantage of Zoom is that we have quorums. I'm just pointing that
That's
out.
true.
I was
Yeah,
gonna
that's a
ask
good
the
point.
question, does it always have to be on the first Wednesday, or can it be on the third Wednesday of the month? If that would, I'm just asking. I know I don't have any say in the matter. I'm just,
Good question.
Actually, that will help me too. That is true.
I couldn't meet the third Wednesday at all. I could meet on the second, but the third would be an impossibility for me.
Second is the FUSD
Second.
board meeting.
And another consideration is actually sometimes we have a FAC meeting stacked together with CBOC. That may become an issue too.
Yeah.
that's right. That's right.
Bylaws do say that it's the first non-holiday Wednesday of each month.
Okay. All right.
So another thing is if we are in person, I mean, I'd be okay with 6:30 since it's Zoom, and then if we're in person, maybe Kathy as the vice chair could do it for the first 30 minutes, and then Vanita could come at 7 if that's what she needs to do.
That can work. But Kathy has to
As
say yes
long as
for
it's
it.
First 30 minutes. And while we're on the subject, who do I send these minutes to, by the way?
Why don't you send them to me?
I'll send it to you two. to Kelly and to Chip, okay?
Yeah, well, send them. Why don't you send them to me as a draft first, and then we'll get a more finalized version to Kelly.
Okay, sure. Thank you. Sorry.
I'll just reemphasize what Eric shared, is that oftentimes FAC happens after the CBOC, so we have to be mindful on the time. So if you guys, in my personal ideal world is FAC chair, if you guys could be done between 6:30 to 7:30, and then we can begin FAC at 7:30, that would be preferred.
Yeah, it's hard to hold this meeting to an hour. It really is. I mean, we just had between finance and the project report, that went about an hour. So it's hard to, it's as much as we try to, it's hard to keep this meeting to an hour. Okay, so
Trust me, I did try to push back on that meeting that I'm having with California State PTA. I told everybody that first Wednesday is not possible, but that was the only day that was working out for a whole team. So I'm the odd man out in both committees, both places. So I don't know how to do it.
well, what about a different day of the week? Would a different day of the week be better or worse, or?
The
For me,
the
The
bylaws
bylaws say every first Wednesday.
Okay, all right.
bylaws that is
Presumably, we
holding
could
us.
find a way to change the bylaws if we absolutely had to, right?
Right, yeah, we,
Well, you could always just say the word, Chip, and Clarissa and I will just blow through our part. Do it really quickly.
well, you did 3 months worth, so that's why it went long also, Lisa.
Right, I did a little bit more in
Right.
depth than I would normally do. You're right.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's probably not a lot of difference within a month, but 3 months is probably a lot.
Right. We will go back to 1 month worth and it'll go quicker.
So Chip, I would not be opposed to trying to have this meeting 6:30 to 7:30 with the added suggestions of if we send all the documentation out ahead of time. And that means like Clarissa's report and the Vanner report and the all the board all the board updates. If all of that is sent ahead of time, and I know for me, if I can read all of it ahead of time, and this meeting is just kind of like highlighting stuff instead of basically reading to me what I can already read on my own, I think that that would be a more efficient use of everybody's time personally.
Right.
I
Yep.
will agree with Carla, because, and I would suggest that we do it at least 3 or 4 days ahead of time, ahead of the meeting time. So just so that everybody has enough opportunity to read it. Is that,
We'll do our best to do that.
Well.
I mean, that way our
Lisa,
meeting time
Clarissa,
can,
is that possible? To get your reports out by, let's say, the Friday before?
It is possible, but
Yeah.
it's not gonna run, the expenditure probably won't run through the end of the month, though. That's the issue.
Yeah, that's.
Depending
what I
on
was
when the
thinking. On
first Wednesday hits, yeah,
On the
right.
finance side, it would be difficult.
Yeah,
They gotta close out with the finance report.
Yeah,
correct.
depending on when the first Wednesday hits.
Yeah, I
Yep.
try to make it at the closest to the meeting, but they'll have time to review and stuff too, so.
Right.
Or Clarissa, could you send something out with the caveat that the numbers might change slightly depending on, when the closeout actually happens? Like that, just put that caveat out there so that if we're looking at something, we know it's, potentially a draft. Like I just, I'm trying to see how we can make this more efficient.
It is possible. I don't know if there's an input from Kelly or Lisa on.
I defer to the will of the committee.
Yeah, that's fine. I can do that.
Clarissa, when does the fiscal calendar close each month? The last day of the month, or the last Friday of the month, or when?
Usually the last day of the month, unless it's a weekend or holiday, it'll probably be the day before that.
Even if the last day of the month is a Tuesday, you close the books on Tuesday?
Yes.
really?
Monday, the night before.
Okay. Wow. Okay. All right. Well, let's take that as a goal, and next month we'll meet at 6:30 and get the project reports and the finance reports out by Friday, or let's say Monday, and
Okay.
then we'll meet on Wednesday, first Wednesday of the month, 6:30.
I moved that way adjourn and get into my sleep time now.
Yeah, we're almost done.
Prospect tired, guys, that's important.
Yep.
So the next meeting is November 3rd.
At
Yes, it is at 6:30.
Okay. Perfect. Put it in my calendar. All right.
Okay.
And I don't know, Chip, is there anything else?
I think that's it.
All right. Well, it was great seeing everybody again. Missed your wonderful faces.
Okay. Keep
On your mask, your obedience.
Enjoy England, Kathleen.
Yeah,
Be safe traveling.
thank you
Yes,
very much.
stay well.
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.